This section examines the changing nature of work in the modern context. It examines the new challenges and trends emerging in the workplace. There's broad agreement in Western economies that workers need to upskill and reskill to create and fill the jobs of the future. In Ireland, government policy intervention is concentrating on creating jobs in research and development, science, engineering, ICT and value-add agri-food sector. As far back as the 1980s, Charles Handy raised awareness of significant changes taking place in the world of work. He introduced the concept of the Shamrock organisation to describe emerging employment patterns which signalled the end of a job for life. Handy predicted that workers in the firm of the future would fall into three categories. Core, which would account for 20% of the workforce. This core would be young, well-educated, full-time employees, primarily engaged in technical, professional and managerial posts. They'd be well paid, but they'd work long hours. And because of the intensity of the environment in which they'd work, their full-time employment, he predicted, would only last about 20 years. And he then described the second leaf of the shamrock, which he termed the contractual fringe, which would account for around 80% of the workforce. And this would be outsourced to independent contractors. So the firm would owe no allegiance to these people and would be able to terminate contracts quite easily. Now, he also allowed for a third leaf to the shamrock, the part-time flexible workers. And these people would primarily be called in at busy periods in an organisation. Now, it might include low-skilled people, but it would also include people who may be highly skilled but are not interested in full-time work, home workers or older workers who aren't ready for full-time retirement. Handy suggested that the organisation would have more commitment to this cohort because it would see them as a valuable resource and therefore would provide the necessary training to ensure that they didn't in any way undermine the quality of product or service, or indeed the reputation of the organisation. The trends Handy predicted in the early 1980s are already apparent. Like a generation ago, a job for life was the expectation. Now you're much more likely to have several careers and at least 6 to 10 jobs in your working life. More and more people are seeing themselves, therefore, as self-employed in attitude, if not in reality, whereby they're offering a portfolio of solutions to a willing, fluid marketplace. We live in a digital age where the knowledge worker reigns supreme. We've changed our view of what work actually is and now recognise that it comes in many guises, like is work employment, an occupation, a profession, a trade, a career, a vocation? But it can also be termed as a task or an assignment or an enterprise or a project, as in this job will take 6 months and then it's over. Maybe it's a responsibility, a duty, a role or a mission. Now, as organisations continue to right-size, downsize, re-engineer and restructure, the nature of the job will continue to evolve. And better education and better technology provide more flexibility to work part-time or flexi-time, to job share and to work from home. But one thing is absolutely for sure. Education is the key to gaining and retaining employment in the future, whatever shape or form that employment comes in. Just as people need to continuously upgrade competences to remain employable, so employers need to hire with care to ensure a capable, flexible workforce, whether it's a core or contractual workforce. Now, Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences is widely used to identify the different types of intelligence which will be required by the organisations of the future. So as individuals, what can we do to ensure that we are employable? Well, we need to constantly engage in lifelong learning. We need to be prepared to compete for highly demanding jobs in a highly competitive market. We need to plan ahead for possible career changes, often with little preparation time available. We need to develop and maintain a wide range of contacts and networks to keep you up to date with emerging changes and opportunities. We need to develop entrepreneurship, self-management and small business management skills because we're going to more than likely end up in periods of self-employment. We're going to need to be able to cope and adapt to a higher degree of uncertainty, particularly with regard to employment. And we also need to consider flexible working arrangements in a more diverse workplace. The job for life is over. So in the employability era, we need to build up a portfolio of solutions and capabilities and offer them to a marketplace that needs competent workers and managers as never before. Communicating that capability will help to determine the value we are perceived to offer future employers. So having a well-developed, well-curated e-portfolio will go a long way to showcasing that value.